Hi everybody, I'm Bill Matsubu, and it's always fun to talk right before lunch because everybody's excited to eat stuff. I'm going to present today with Matt St. John with the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, and I'm here representing Blue Lake Rancheria. We're going to talk about the development of WIGI Shoreline Adaptation Atlas to inform equitable nature-based climate adaptation. That's a little jargony. Breaking down, we're going to basically talk about a partnership, a collaboration to kind of adapt. I mean, adapt is in the title twice. So to adapt a project that was originally formulated in the San Francisco Bay to Humboldt Bay. So first of all, I'm going to condense my whole presentation I did yesterday into one slide. I'm representing Blue Lake Rancheria. It's a federally recognized Wiat area tribe about 5 miles from the coast in Blue Lake, California. In 1907, some land was set aside for a group of homeless Native Americans, and it was established as a refuge for homeless Indians. This was an unproductive parcel of land on a floodplain vulnerable to flooding. The tribe was disenfranchised, terminated in 1958, but reinstated in 1983. And since 1983, they've accomplished a lot. Blue Lake Rancheria is a leader in climate action and resilience, and award-winning for climate action and during times of need for the county and greater area, during like catastrophic wildfires and earthquakes, is a hub to protect the local community. They provide services that have been credited to saving several lives. Especially during blackouts after earthquakes. But we're going to leverage some of this success to focus on coastal issues in the future. Oops, wrong direction. So Blue Lake Rancheria is very aware of the climate crisis, and they're very proactive in addressing some of the needs. That is the full direction in the past and in the current mindset of the council is like trying to address this climate crisis. And we're trying to leverage our previous successes in climate action to like address all the development and the sea level rise issues around Humboldt Bay. And what's really important to Blue Lake Rancheria is supporting the local community around there, and they want to engage the local communities and prioritize equitable benefits. Blue Lake Rancheria does have trust lands around Humboldt Bay, but those trust lands were purchased for cultural protection. So the locations of those trust lands are actually confidential because we don't want recreational archaeology or any of those activities. With this being said, council directed us to get more engaged through a resolution in this process. And there was this really cool funding opportunity. And so one of the partnerships that we have is with Lori Richmond and Adam Cantor with the Sea Level Rise Institute. And I kind of reached out with an idea to them about that. And that was like a helping address one of the concerns around the bay is like making planning and restoration digestible for people like me, who's not a sea level rise expert. And Lori said that people at the water board, Matt St. John and them, are actually kind of thinking about a similar project because they also reached out to the Sea Level Rise Institute for this idea. So I want to thank Lori and the Sea Level Rise Institute for connecting us, and I want to introduce Matt St. John with the water board. Great.
But don't worry, Bill's coming back. We're going to do a little bit of tag teaming, but I wanted to just give a real brief kind of overview of the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board and some context of why we as a regulatory agency are standing here in partnership with the Blue Lake Rancheria. So the water boards are one of the boards and departments within the California Environmental Protection Agency. In addition to the State Water Resources Control Board, which has a Division of Water Quality, a Division of Water Rights, the Division of Drinking Water, and a Division of Financial Assistance, there are 9 regional water quality control boards throughout the state of California, whose jurisdictions are based on watershed boundaries, and we're semi-autonomous boards that are responsible for making decisions and setting policy to set water quality standards, issuing waste discharge requirements to protect water quality, and determining compliance of those requirements. The water boards have a pretty broad mission to preserve, enhance, and restore the quality of California's water resources and drinking water for the protection of the environment, public health, and all beneficial uses, and to ensure proper water resource allocation and efficient use for the benefit for present and future generations. So that's kind of a mouthful. Specific to the North Coast region, in 2015, we established this vision statement for the North Coast Regional Water Board: healthy watersheds, effective regulation, strong partnerships. And in a presentation to my board last week, I proposed, somewhat jokingly, but also seriously, a slight revision to this vision statement to be healthy, climate resilient watersheds, effective regulation, and strong partnerships. But it's really the strong partnerships part of why I'm here today, standing next to Bill and talking about a project that we're working on. Last year, the North Coast Regional Board made a very deliberate, intentional decision to more proactively plan for and adapt to climate change, and established essentially a climate program. It's a nascent program. We converted a vacant position at the time to be a climate specialist position, which is the position that I'm now serving in. And so it was through that initiative that we're now in the process of developing climate adaptation and resilience initiatives for the North Coast Regional Board. This is very much a strategy that's in development. And this slide just shows in a general way the kind of categories of approaches that we're now thinking about in terms of how to advance climate adaptation and resilience for the North Coast region. First, using our existing permitting tools, developing new regulatory tools, supporting local and regional planning, and promoting active restoration of aquatic habitats. But it's the third category here of supporting regional and local planning that brings us to this project, the Shoreline Adaptation Atlas. And I'm going to turn it back to Bill.
Thank you, Matt. He'll be back too. We're gonna go back and forth a little bit. Yeah. So what's been said over and over again at this conference is that as sea level continues to rise, Humboldt Bay communities will need to adapt in order to build social and ecological resilience. And it's gonna be better if we do that with partnerships. And I recommend if you develop a collaboration or a partnership that they have a contract with a helicopter service. So that was one of the benefits of this is in the preparation for this proposal, they were actually doing a flight around Humboldt Bay already, so I was able to, during one of the king tides, and I was able to jump on that flight, which is pretty cool. I know these photos aren't Alderon level of quality. They're actually taken with my my cell phone, but it was really cool and really gave perspective on like some of the next things I'm going to talk about. Is within the diverse landscape of Humboldt Bay, the shoreline is pretty, it's changing, it's dynamic, it's heterogeneous, but so are the communities. There's a lot of diversity around the communities and different types of infrastructure that support those communities. Because of both of the infrastructure and the communities and the nature, there's no one size fits all approach for all around Humboldt Bay, as some of the previous talks were saying, like all the different strategies and each location, there's different options. There's no one size fits approach at all. And so we can make the bay's shoreline and communities more resilient by working with people and nature at the right scale. That's important, at the right scale to implement sea level rise solutions. So we're gonna, with all this context, there's like 2 questions that we're gonna try to answer with this project. One is what type and where are nature-based strategies most appropriate? And 2 is how do we ensure restoration is equitable? So this is actually a formatting error. It was supposed to be 1 and 2 originally. But when I went to go fix it, I decided, no, it's not less important. I'm going to leave it at 1 and 1 kind of thing. So this is where we're going to start proposing a shoreline adaptation atlas. We're borrowing from, Matt's going to explain a little bit about from the San Francisco Bay Atlas and borrowing from that. But what it basically does is it takes the entire bay and it divides it into manageable units defined by their physical and ecological processes. We'll also think about jurisdiction, governmental jurisdictions, and things like ownership. We're going to then do a big GIS exercise and map the suitability for nature-based adaptation measures across for each specific unit it's divided into. And then we're integrating this across the land-water divide by matching adaptation measures that could work well in a given landscape area. And then we're going to take it beyond and develop conceptual designs for phased adaptation projects for a selected area within the bay.
Yeah, so this slide shows on the left, no, it's your right, my left, a map of the San Francisco Bay. So as Bill said, we're modeling the Shoreline Adaptation Atlas for WIGI after an adaptation atlas that was developed for the San Francisco Bay. This was a joint project between the San Francisco Bay Regional Water Board and the San Francisco Estuary Institute. And so what the map shows is these, what the technical term is operational landscape units. And so the little polygons for around different parts of the bay. So it's breaking up the shoreline based on habitat type, ecological conditions, and infrastructure that's along the shoreline, breaking it up into different areas within the bay. So it's kind of like it's establishing the nature's jurisdictions of the bay, while kind of understanding the cross-jurisdictional nature of the bay as well. And then the figure on the right shows the pairing of options of nature-based solutions and nature-based solution opportunities that could be applied to a given operational landscape unit. So this is just showing those opportunities for a particular operational landscape unit in San Francisco Bay as an example. So we're using this as a model to then apply to San Francisco Bay. The regional board's role, well, I guess we haven't said yet. So we've applied to a grant to NOAA as part of their coastal management program, the Climate Resilience Regional Challenge, to get funding to develop this Shoreline Adaptation Atlas. It has not yet been funded, but we're really hoping that it'll be funded. The regional board's role will be to, even though the grant didn't require matching funds, regional board staff's time will be as a match, and we will be there to provide technical and policy support. And Bill will talk a little bit more about the engagement process that we'll be going through. So my colleague that's here in the room with us, Elizabeth Pope, is the Humboldt Bay steward for the North Coast Regional Board. And so if funded, Elizabeth and I will be supporting this project. This slide just gives a kind of a tabular example of the way that of one of the work products would be identifying suitable nature-based opportunities and then matching them for different operational landscape units along the Humboldt Bay's shoreline. So I'll turn it back to Bill.
Yeah, I knew challenges were going to happen going back and forth so many times. Yeah, so this is how to address that second number one question that previous slide was kind of talking about. And it's general Humboldt fashion to kind of make things our own. So we're taking the San Francisco Bay Atlas and adapting it to Humboldt County and one of the big things lacking in the San Francisco Bay Atlas was inclusion, like incorporating the communities that these activities would occur in and ensuring it was some equitable planning. So we're proposing to include several mechanisms to like increase the equitability of this project. One is making sure we're growing and developing the region's climate and community literate adaptation workforce. So that would be employing people at tribes. The Wiyot tribe is a sub-awardee for this project. There'd be staff members at Blue Lake Rancheria tribe. There would be a Sea Grant fellow and potentially a West Coast or a National Marine Fisheries fellow. So we're really trying to build up that younger, new climate literate workforce. We're going to convene a lot of meetings. We're going to bother a lot of you guys to be involved with a lot of these expert meetings. We have these technical advisory committee meetings and these management advisory committee meetings. So I appreciate you guys' help in advance for that. And we're going to have robust community engagement. We're going to be engaging the community a lot. And we're going to try to address some of the systematic challenges for a lot of the tribal members and people from different communities from being able to attend meetings. It's like those financial constraints. So there's a lot of money that were built in to make sure that people that do attend these meetings, they're compensated for it, and they'll be able to like pay for childcare and travel to these meetings and stuff. Also, I want to take another chance to brag about one of those helicopter photos, but And it kind of puts in perspective. So like, this was during a king tide, and you can see Tuluwat here, the center of the Wiyot universe. Right here, there's almost, it's almost fully inundated. But then if you look in the bottom right, you can see the William Carson mansion. That it's pretty protected, and there's like a pretty big disparity between like what's happened through time with climate change and sea level rise for those different types of communities. I want to thank the project team that threw this proposal together. And if it doesn't get funded here, we're definitely going to send it somewhere else. I want to thank Ali Toyofuku, she's here. Matt St. John, of course. Elizabeth Pope. And Christina Toms, who was like she's a powerhouse, she's brilliant, and she has one of the coolest job titles I've ever heard, ecological engineer. I mean, that's like pretty cool. But like, my daughter was born just a few weeks before this was due, the proposal was due, so like they really helped push this to the finish line and stuff. And also, like you can see by the list here, we had dozens of people that supported us and provided letters of support. Many of the people in this room, and we really appreciate everybody's help so far. And we're all crossing our fingers. Hopefully you guys will let you know. Yes.